Again, good afternoon. We're going to continue laying out some more types of questions involving slope. Again, slope is denoted by the letter M in algebra most commonly. As I said, it describes the steepness of a line. And we've already kind of talked about a slope that's kind of increasing from left to right is considered a positive slope. So if it has this slope, we refer to as positive. If it has more of this downward motion, we call that a negative slope. A lot of times, like I said, I associate that hiker for uphill and a skier for downhill, and that helps me kind of keep those guys together. So let's look at this line here that we have, this little blue line here. If I want to find the slope, again, I have to look at rise over run. But notice that there really isn't any rise. All it does is run. So it runs, looks like 4 and another 3. Looks like it runs like a -7 if I move from left to right. So it looks like my slope is, there isn't any rise, there's a run of -7. And we do know that 0 divided by -7 is the same thing as a 0. And remember, you can check it by multiplication. 0 times -7 does give me 0, so that is considered a 0. We also said that a line that runs left to right like this is also considered a horizontal line. So this line would be considered a horizontal line. Also to note that its slope is going to be a 0 slope. So it has an actual value to go with that. M is actually 0. So also take note that for there to be no change in the y's have to be the exact same y value. So if you see that pattern where the y's are the same, that's going to trigger some type of suspicion. And if you play it out, you can kind of see that that is indeed a 0 slope. I can also use my slope formula. So if I call this 0.1, so for -2 is 0.1, and -3, -2 is 0.2. So let's make sure that's right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, down 2. So 4, -2 is correct. 1, 2, 3, down 2. -3 is correct. -3, 2 is -3, -2 is correct. So if I call this 0.1, so that's my x1, my y1, and this is my 0.2, so that's going to be my x2 and my y2. So that's my coordinates in my second point. I can now use my formula. So my formula says to go -2, take away a -2, -2, take away a -2, and on the bottom we have a -3, take away a 4. So I see I have a -2, and we know this kind of means the opposite of a -2, so I have a +2 there. And we have a -3 and a -4. That's going to be a -7. So indeed, I do get 0 over -7. And my slope does turn out to be then 0. So I can also play that out in a formula notation. So now we've got what's called a positive slope, a negative slope, and now we have a line that has what we call a 0 slope. Because remember, 0 is neither positive nor negative, so you can't do that. 0 is neither positive nor negative. Now remember, 0 is an even number, but 0 does not carry a sign as far as positive or negative. It's kind of neutral in that situation. So that's what we call a 0 slope. Stay tuned.